the gun goes off, so it'll be fun to watch how this all unfolds.
And this is a change for the venue. We'll talk about that more as we get into the championship window. But let's start, Keenan, with the girls' teams. In your preview, you talked about Bridgeland and Flower Mound in rematching what is always an epic battle for them for Texas supremacy. And you figure they're the two favorites for those two automatic spots.
When you have a 3-point difference between the two of them, as I said, be at the Texas 6A state meet, you got to figure that these two are familiar with each other. They know their strength. They know each other's weaknesses. So they're going to be battling back and forth at the top and see if they can, get themselves back to Nike Cross Nationals. Flower Mound, it would be a 5th trip for them. Bridgeland, it would be a 2nd trip seeking first trip for them after missing out by 1 point last year. So a really cool opportunity for them to get to nationals. But also you got these two Arkansas teams that at the beginning of the year we were talking about Rogers XC because of Lily Bashir's and her impact on the team. But because she's been out for a majority of the season, the Rogers team has not been at full strength. So I like the Bridgeland and Flower Mound teams to get the 1-2.
And you mentioned Lily coming back trying to defend her title on a different course. She won in the Woodlands, Texas last year. And now we are in College Station, Texas, and Elin Latta and Macy Wingard going to factor in. But another deep field, if we had more room, there's more potential for individual champions here.
Yeah, and this region, as we said, is always proven to be one of the best in the country. But in terms of, who... In Lily Bashir's case, she hasn't been at full strength. I messaged her coach a couple weeks ago and asked her what's been going on. She's been sitting out just for a little bit of an injury. So for me personally, Paul, I like to see Macy Wingard take this individual title, given that the success that she has been having, and she's felt that she has turned things around since last year. She finished 18th at NXN as a sophomore. Last year finished 57th and was wondering what is happening. And she's finally putting things together and now going for a 4th consecutive trip to Nike Cross Nationals. Kids dream of even just going to Portland one time. This girl is about to go to 4 times if she makes it happen today.
So keep an eye on those individuals as we welcome these girls to the start line on a very early start to this Nike Cross Regional Championship. And a reminder for those tuning in for some of the other racing today, we'll have all that for you live as we go. They're going to try to be very efficient after these championship races to try to get these races in and through before the potential lightning rolls through the area.
Maybe they might be able to go back to school after these races. I mean, maybe some of them that are in this area, they will, go home, get ready for the day, and then, hey, head off to school.
Well, as is always the case, a mixture of individual athletes at the line as well as the top teams in the region as this brings together.
See Macy Wingard there on your screen, bib 743. Yeah, just like I said, coming off a great season so far. Won her 3rd consecutive Texas 6A state title. And next year is going to be heading off to Provo, run for BYU. And what a time to be a BYU Cougar right now and the success they've been having.
5 states represented in the region: Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. And a reminder again, our qualification for Nike Cross Nationals, the 20th edition, to be held in the first weekend in December in Portland, Oregon. Top 2 teams will qualify. If you finish 3rd or 4th in this region, you could get in by virtue of a at-large invitation. That hasn't happened since Flower Mound was invited out of the South in 2022. And, of course, the top 5 individuals get a ticket as well. But if one of your top 5 is connected to one of the teams that qualify, then finishing 6th, even perhaps 7th, could be a very important result here, as you could potentially have an opportunity to join the best of the best in Portland as well.
History favors Texas in this meet, Paul. 38 times that the Lone Star State has represented it at Nike Cross Nationals. The only other state that has represented there is Arkansas, and they've only done it 2 times. The other states, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Mississippi, never had a presence at Nike Cross Nationals.
Well, despite the early hour, crowds have gathered and the runners are ready. Girls Championship Racing in the South, as we've now officially reached Sunrise in Texas. An early morning for the best girls in the region of the South. Nike Cross Regionals Championship Racing is underway.
New course, new opportunities, too. We're going to learn as much as anybody else on this course today on the Watts Cross Country course, hosted by the Texas A&M University Aggies. The 12th man welcome us here to College Station after many, many years at the Woodlands at Bear Branch Park.
And the course record holder at this course is in this race. Elin Latta ran 17-17-3 earlier this year as the large group of championship racers come together here. They'll get funneled into the main part of the course. We'll have splits for you at 1 mile and 2 mile. That'll give us a chance to reset the leaders as well as the teams as we get them running and racing here in Texas.
There's Wingard already asserting herself to the front, and something that she's, not familiar or is familiar doing. She's been doing it all season long, and setting the tone here early on. Gosh, I give credit to these girls for getting after it here at 7 o'clock in the morning. I know I'd be still sleeping in bed right now.
See Latta in the middle of the picture wearing bib 543.
Our defending champion.
And Bashir's 735 just right behind Wingard here. So the early pacing here, what we expected. Ava Cornelius of Owasso, Oklahoma, their 6A champion, asserting herself, bib 682, as they get out and away and are already pressing the pace here a little bit, as it's a group of, 5, maybe 6 girls there in the opening few hundred meters.
Elin Latta's got a fun story, Paul. Comes from a family of 5 sisters. Her oldest sister, 16, Addison, Iris, and Elin, fraternal twins, and then Remy Reese, also twins. They make up what's called the Latta Pack. It's the South Texas Homeschool Heat team there in the state of Texas. Homeschooling in Texas, it is a class association that they have. They have their own state championships, and Elin Latta is so far a 2-time homeschool state champion in the great state of Texas. But she's had an impact so far within the last couple years. Qualified for nationals last year, finished 23rd, was one of the top underclassmen there. She's ready to take that next step and be considered as one of the All-American caliber athletes. And this is just one of those next steps in her journey for getting herself back to Nike Cross Nationals.
So coming up on 3 minutes elapsed here down the lower left-hand corner of your screen, you see the athletic course tracker as they have this long stretch here on the western side of the race course, and then that elevation tracker shows they're getting a nice little gentle downhill before they'll start another climb. Everyone looking for space to run. Latta's going to move from screen right to screen left as she tries to find a different track, and this one right behind the leader, Wingard.
You got Wingard, Bashirs, Cornelius, looking to see 886 right behind, or maybe it's 686 right behind. We mentioned the 4 names already. There's also Lainey Barnes of Houston Cypress, actually transferred from Battlefield in Virginia and has really had a big impact this fall, won 9 of 11 races. Was second to Wingard at the Texas 6A state meet, and then finished third to Latta, and then Addie Bennett from Flower Mound at the Nike South meet, which, again, you mentioned Latta had won Nike South and the course record. There's going to be, a new opportunity where I think, this course is relatively fast compared to what it was at the Bear Branch Park, so maybe we might see some girls dip under 17 minutes, and I don't know if they'll reach, I call it the championship record dating back to when we were at Bear Branch, 16:07.6 by Elizabeth Leachman.
Cornelius coming through these twists and turns with a slight advantage, though Wingard there right on her shoulder, as this group has now dwindled down to just 5 girls before we've even reached the 1 mile mark. You see them coming around that turn now and work their way down to that first mile split. That's where we'll have a chance to reset the field here in this Nike Cross Regionals South Division on this purpose-built cross-country course, similar to Laverne Gibson, where we were in the Midwest just a week or so ago. So championship racing as it unfolds here in a very quick pace in the early going, as they now near 5 minutes elapsed.
One of the little hill climbs that they'll start to make here throughout this race, and it comes before that first mile. They'll go right over that timing mat, and 5:07.6, the little downhill gets the day going, and we're not messing around here. And the top five that we have talked about, or actually mentioned their names, all six are right there in that group.
Wingard, Lotta, Bashirs, Cornelius, and Laney Barnes. Addie Bennett currently back in sixth position. As you see those results populating here, Bennett and Easterwood side by side, actually tied for sixth position. And then we keep an eye on the numbers above as the first five runners come across the line. They will be scored in their placings, and then that team score, which will be updated dynamically here for the next few moments as they pull those individual athletes out of the field. Right now, Rogers, Bridgeland, and Flower Mound all within 10 points of each other.
It really makes a difference when you have your number one runner back in the lineup for Rogers. And, having Lily Bashirs get back, she just got done winning her second consecutive state title at the Arkansas 6A state meet. So, she's a huge piece to their success. And, again, an opportunity for Arkansas to get a third team ever to Nike Cross Nationals kind of falls on the shoulders of what Bashirs does here as the low stick.
But right now, asserting herself, Macy Wingard beginning to break a little bit away from the leaders, including Elin Lotta, who has the course record here in College Station, 17:17.3, that first mile of 5:07.6. Right about on that pace, and Wingard with a chance now, if she wants, to take a look over her shoulder, but chooses not to. So right now, very confident in her pacing as they come back around and to the area where the crowd has gathered to cheer them on as they work through this second mile of the girls' Nike Cross South Regional Championship.
Little downhill stretch here, too. That's the nice thing about this course. You got some ups and downs and see different paces changing, seeing different, strategies with this course. Elin Lotta throwing here a little bit of a surge, trying to catch up to Macy Wingard. I had a chance to talk with Macy the other day, and she's just so much more confident in herself right now as a racer than ever before. She wants to get back to what she was like as a sophomore when she finished 18th in nationals, and not only get into the All-American position, but can you get into that top 10 position and compete for a national title?
Well, Rogers now solidifying its hold on that first position through the first mile, 5 points ahead of Bridgeland with Flower Mound right there. So three very strong teams in this region doing battle as they'll recalibrate that score maybe one or two more times. Then we'll have the next opportunity to rescore this race at 2 miles on the team side. But still, Wingard here with the lead, and Lotta trying not to let her get too far away here.
She's not, and the thing about Wingard is she's just kind of positioning herself and making sure that she's holding that lead, and it's about just maintaining that lead throughout this part of this race, especially, when we're making another uphill climb. It may not necessarily look a lot right now on our athletic course tracker and the elevation tracker, but, those little inclines can play a difference in these races and how they end up in the end.
So it's Wingard and Lotta and Laney Barnes in third position right there. That low arm carry as she tries to stay in the mix here with the rest of the field beginning to lose a little bit of ground, including the defending champion Bashirs.
Well, again, when you've sat out for the majority of this season, you may not be at your peak, basically, just getting back into the mix. And I'm not going to say Arkansas is the most challenging state to go win a state championship, but, in the state of Texas, when you have hundreds of kids competing in, one classification, there's more depth, there's more talent to work with. So, if she's able to, still stay in this top five, which I think we have solidified a top five here, given how much we have spread since the beginning of this race, I think she's still in a pretty good position to get herself back to Nike Cross Nationals.
Yeah, there was 5 seconds difference between fifth and sixth position through 1 mile. It would appear that has extended now, though you can see that chase pack and hoping maybe somebody like Brashears will start to fall off the back, give them somebody to chase for. But we have a new leader here now through about 10 minutes of racing, and it is the course record holder, Elin Latta, who's passed Wingard as she takes the lead here in Nike Cross Regional South.
Won 5 of 7 races this fall, including, as you mentioned, the Nike South title, so has that experience on this course, unlike a lot of these girls that have not ran on this course. And in the case for Wingard, her entire career was ran at Bear Branch Park, so that's the only thing she really knows about this course. So at this point, if I were Wingard right now, I just kind of just sit on Lotta's shoulders and kind of just gauge what she does, kind of like what Doris Lemgole did with Jane the other day at the NCAA Championships. Just kind of let the freshmen do the work and see what kind of unfolds the rest of this race. 10:30 coming up on about 10:36 at that 2 mile, and just a 1 second difference between her and Wingard.
Lady Barnes back in third position, but she's now a good second and a half off the lead, and then a big drop in fourth of Ava Cornelius and Brashears in fifth. They're now at 10:47.5, so 9 seconds off the lead and only 5 seconds ahead. And look who's in sixth position here as we start to look down the list of placings. That's Iris Latta, who has moved up in a position maybe to try to attack the top 5.
Her twin trying to get in on the mix. And, maybe perhaps, this Latta pack group, they have really a solid 4. It's just their 5th that, kind of needs to get going here. I believe that's Addison Latta. That's their 5th runner right now. And heck, if Addison was able to find a way to pick off some runners, can Latta pack get into that team race perhaps?
Could be. We see all the placings here waiting for the 5th teams to come through, the 5th runners for the teams to come through in the team race. Also noting that Iris Latta is right alongside Addison Bristow, Addie Bennett, and Meyer Easterwood. They all came through in 10:52, so 4 girls in places 6 through 9, and we've got at least, one runner right now with Rogers XC and Lily Brashears that if they were to make the team part of this invitation to Nike Cross Nationals, that would open up a spot for 6th position.
Well, it'll be a while till we, get an idea of where Brashears is at, because at this point right now, it's a 3-girl race, and they have really fallen off, as you said, 9 seconds at 2 miles. So maybe a little bit of distance now between Latta and Barnes and Wingard, although these 2 seniors don't want to let her go, and they know an individual title is at stake. And gosh, especially Wingard and Barnes, they ran against each other at the 6A state meet. They definitely know each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Barnes has just been kind of lurking there for this race, not really much of a factor in terms of trying to push the pace from the front, but now you can begin to see her asserting herself just a little bit and is confidently coming up and alongside Latta as she is there with Wingard as well. And then you can see that group. Look at the race that is emerging now for those 4th and 5th automatic invitations to Nike Cross Nationals as we come into the final stretch of this Girls South Regional Championship.
Flower Mound, Bridgeland, and Rogers, your top 3 after 2. So expected Flower Mound, Bridgeland to be the ones to battle out front. And Rogers, again, with Lily Brashears falling back, that is going to potentially hurt them in the long run, because Addie Bennett is one of those athletes that in that team race could potentially get one of those points.
Can see they're trying to race to that plateau to the finish line on the elevation tracker below. Still a little bit of running left here, maybe 3, maybe 4 minutes of racing here. That course record by Elin Latta, 17:17.3, set earlier this year. She brings them around the corner. No one ready to take the control of this race as they run side by side by side with 14 minutes elapsed on the clock.
Again, just getting an idea of what moves Latta is making. They're just, at this point, gauging off what she's going with, and working together here at this point. And these 3 girls, they're so far ahead of the rest of the field. They're not worrying about, what's behind them. They're just, trying to maintain their positions. It's that second group, Paul, where I'm a little concerned of, where each of those athletes are at. And, is that pack going to break up eventually?
See Lada now falling back into third position as they take the turn on the corner. And here now a step on the gas by Macy Wingard as they reach that little bit of a last climb. And she's trying to use this incline as an opportunity to try to break the race open.
Trying to see if she can, get an individual title, which is something she has not done in this region, and especially for her to bounce back after the year that she had. This is just going to be a confidence builder going into Portland. It's safe to say, I think at this point, she is going to be qualifying for her 4th consecutive Nike Cross Nationals, but can she do it as a regional champion?
Could see the rest of the field coming off and cresting that rise to this plateau finish for a girls' South Regional Championship. They can see the finish line off in the distance now as they continue to race home. Lada trying to close the gap right now, and Barnes still with Lada in that race for what looks like second and third. But Macy Wingard in full flight here, trying to close to the finish line.
Let's see back there just how many girls, can get those top 5 into spots. Bashirs to your far left in the back. It's hard to gauge what her position is right now. I can see Iris Lada back there, her Lada's twin sister. So at this point, Paul, it's going to be really hard to tell from this viewpoint who is going to get those top 5 individual spots as well as the top 2 team spots.
It sure seemed for a lot of this race like the top 3 were well away from the field, but from this shot you can see just how competitive the racing has been. Wingard having to show a lot of patience with the lead here. She's still got a little bit of an advantage on Lada and Barnes. And Macy Wingard still with the finish line in sight. What a long stretch this final race to the finish line is, but she is holding on to that lead. And Macy Wingard in familiar territory. She is qualified for another Nike Cross Nationals, this time as the South champion.
I had to wait a long time for that finish, Paul. That was a long stretch. And just, be able to kind of take that moment in for her. She really wanted to, be able to kind of soak in these moments, these last 16 minutes, 53 seconds. I mean, that was the biggest thing, not only to get back to Nike Cross Nationals, but to be able to take in this moment as a senior and realize this is my last regional race and just be able to enjoy every minute of it. And now she can do it as a regional champion, and just look at the smile she has on her face. And gosh, 7 o'clock in the morning, you're running under 17 minutes.
And winning a regional championship.
That's really fast and really early to do that, too.
Yeah, it takes down the course record. First racer under 17 minutes on this course, 16:53.3. Lada breaks her previous course record, running 16:54.7. And then Lainey Barnes, really great effort from her as she also goes under 17 minutes to make Nike Cross Nationals, as Addie Bristow and Ava Cornelius are the other 2 girls punching tickets to Nike Cross Nationals, finishing in that top 5. Now we keep an eye on this finish line shoot and wait for the 5 from the top teams to come across the line. Reminder, Bridgeland, Flower Mound re-dueling on this race course once again. They were 1 and 2 after 2 miles.
Rivals, you could say, at the Texas 6-day state meet, because I will say this. Bridgeland ended Flower Mound's streak of consecutive titles at the Texas 6A state meet. Flower Mound had won 6 in a row, so there might be a little bitterness out there and a little bit of a get back opportunity for Flower Mound. Rogers has got 4 of their 5 across the line. Lily Bashirs, who finished 8th overall, is just hoping and praying. After the great year that she had last year as a junior, she can just get one last chance to go back to Nike Cross Nationals.
And what a great shot this is of all these athletes coming to the line in this championship race. This is just the field in the championship race. The registrations for Nike Cross Regionals have been record-setting. You can see every place matters as all these girls finish on empty to round out a championship run that started a minute before the sun came up here in Texas.
The names keep filing in. Team scores keep adjusting. It looks like right now Bridgeland asserting themselves as the team champions. So perhaps back-to-back wins against Flower Mound. But we're going to keep waiting. Rogers now in third with 95 points. So looking like, Lily Bashir is not going to be able to go back to Nike Cross Nationals to compete for an All-American position. It's been an up-and-down year, but she, too, will also be going to BYU with Macy Wingard.
Well, let's hear from our winner, Macy Wingard, who's with Chris Nickinson at the finish line.
Well, we're here with Macy Wingard, the 2025 NXR South champion. 16:53 on the clock. It's her fourth time qualifying for Nike Cross Nationals, but first time as a champion. Can you describe the feeling of winning NXR South?
It's honestly unreal. I feel like I've been here more years than 4, and I've always not been. The highest I've ever placed is third, so this is just honestly a dream come true, especially with how amazing and how deep the South is.
You mentioned being at this region many, many times in the past, but was down at the Woodlands and now in College Station. How's this course?
It's a great course. I like it. It's honestly it was hard to picture the race before going into this course, but I honestly like this one a lot better, and it feels like it's easier to get a fast time on.
You talk about fast times. You got out in like 5:07, and then Pat caught back up to you, but then that last quarter mile, you found another gear. Was that the plan today, to get out fast like that?
Honestly, it's always the plan. I feel like I just race better starting off fast, so that was definitely the goal today, and I just wanted to go out hard, and whoever came.
Appreciate it, Chris. Sorry we lost that feed from their interview, but we got a chance to hear from Macy, and obviously so much experience of having been through this race so many times, but, kind of grinding on her was this idea that she had never won the title, and she got that in that checkbox of list of accomplishments this year.
She did, and I laughed at the fact that, she was having a hard time gauging the course. Well, it was dark early in the morning, so it's really hard to kind of gauge what that course looked like. But, I thought she ran really smart, Paul. I thought, for that first mile, of course, she went 5:07 and then kind of like settled in a little bit, let the freshman kind of take care of it there, or sophomore take care of the rest of that race there. But she ran smart, she ran aggressive, and she ran like she was going to want to win a regional title. And that's what, that's just the best part of this type of year is like championship racing it shows who are the best athletes at this time of year.
And now she'll turn her thoughts to trying to get into those All-American spots at the end of the road in Portland in early December. She was 57th at NXN last year, but certainly seems capable of racing against the best in just a couple of weeks' time. Final few runners coming to line here. Great assistance from volunteer and medical staffs here to make sure that these girls get into rest and recovery mode after their championship racing. A tall order to ask these girls to race at such a high level so early in the day.
Coffees and donuts afterwards now. I think that it's like your fun run. This is the girls' turkey trot before the actual Thanksgiving on Thursday. So no need to worry about running on Thanksgiving morning. You guys did that. You got up early enough for this race. And
we literally have hundreds of more runners coming to the line in the course of the next few hours after these championship races. We have a series of races that will also unfold. All of those races coming live here on runnerspace.com. It's going to be a little bit of a kind of circus atmosphere because they're going to try to run kind of boys and girls races back to back, and in some cases there'll be two races on the course at the same time.
Just like a Woodbridge type race. Just get all these races over with, knowing that the Thunder is looming. Supposed to be coming around about 10 o'clock, which is when this meet is supposed to end. So the quicker that these girls and boys can run, the better it is. And you'll get a better result if you run faster. I think that's always a good thing. So we mentioned about Wingard, Lotta, Lainey Barnes. Those are the top three. And then one athlete I was kind of curious to see how she responds to the 5K distance, because in the state of Texas, there are some classifications that only run the 2 mile at their championship level. So Addison Bristow, this is only her third 5K within the last 3 years, and she got that 4th spot, and then Avia Cornelius getting that 5th spot. But just right here, this battle between three of Texas' best, one of them being a homeschooler, of course, so she doesn't get to have the luxury of seeing these girls at the 6A state level. But again, just kind of keying off of what Lotta was doing throughout the latter half of this race and running like veterans that Wingard and Barnes are. And when Wingard saw an opportunity to kind of take over towards the end of this race, she latched on to that moment and never saw anything but first towards the end of that race.
And Macy Wingard finally has that Nike Cross Regional South title. And as we said, that was one of the it's kind of like Laverne Gibson. You turn that corner and you see the finish line, but that was a long, and you had to really manage your expectations because that line did not get closer very fast.
No, you and I were kind of looking at each other like, when's this going to get to the finish line? This is going a long time right now. But we heard from our individual champion. Let's get a chance to hear from the team champion, Bridgeland, who just had an awesome day after missing NXN last year by 1 point, Paul.
They take the win with 83 points over Flower Mound. Bridgeland with Chris Nickinson.
Thanks, Paul. We're here with the Bridgeland girls. They're from Houston, and they're off to their first trip to Nike Cross Nationals as region champions. We've got Susanna and Rowan, blanking on names. Sorry about that. Top 10 scores for you two. What does it feel like to lead this team today to NXN?
I mean, it's honestly an honor. All 7 of us have fought really hard, coming last year from missing at 1 point and then working hard till state, getting our first winning state, and then this week going through like the school flu. Like, we've honestly been through it all, and it's just like an honor to be tough with these girls and get to Nike for the first time.
Wait.
Oh, I know. I agree with everything that she said. This has been like a goal for us since literally this race last year. So like getting out here, coming on the line, and being able to have this kind of result and qualify has been so great.
You guys mentioned you missed nationals by 1 point last year. What was different this year compared to last year in terms of preparation for this meet?
I mean, we had all year, and that was in our mind. So I think last year going into it expecting like, okay, we can do this, but this year like we have to do this. Like this is what we were gonna do. There was no way, no one was gonna take it from us this year.
What are you guys most looking forward to about Portland?
Everything, just the whole
Yeah.
trip. The race.
All right, this is Bridgeland from Houston. They're off to NXN as Nike South Region champions. Back to you, Paul.